I'm Duke of Atholl, Marquess of Tullybarden, Earl of Strathtay and Stratharddle, Viscount Balwider, Balvenie and Gask, Lord Murray, Thane of Glentilt, and I think I've missed one out, but there are a lot of them.
Blair Castle is at the centre of a vast ducal estate of over 140,000 acres in the Scottish Highlands. Assembling today is the only private army in Europe. The Duke of Atholl was given the right to possess such a thing by Queen Victoria in 1844. And today, the Atholl Highlanders Regiment consists of around 100 men, made up of locals associated in some way with the ducal estates. Its commanding officer lives 6,000 miles away.
My father actually, he had no intention of sort of accepting the role at all. He was going to be he actually made inquiries, official inquiries as to how he could get out of it. And the person that he consulted at the Lord Lion said, you can either commit a Schedule 1 offence, or felony, they call it here, and go to jail for the rest of your life, or die. You can't abdicate being a duke.
This is the archive.
Wow, so what is here?
Well, this part at the top has the earliest documents. There's 40 trunks of land charters giving the Duke title to his estate. But the very oldest is in here. This one dates from 1180. The next one is from 1199. The main thing was to prove that you owned a bit of land. So without a charter from the Crown, you had no proof.
And these are the originals?
Absolutely. Of course.
Family history matters. When the 9th Duke died, there was a very convoluted route to his successor, a young man who was his 4th cousin twice removed.
We have a very simplified family tree here. So you come down straight from the 3rd Duke, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, but they have no male heirs, so you have to find the next male heir working your way back. So this was a brother of the 4th Duke. You come down through this line of Georges until you get to the 10th Duke here.
The 10th Duke had the perfect ducal image, as if from central casting. He was nearly 6.5 feet tall, talked in clipped sentences, ending each with that Victorian aristocratic tick, what? A bachelor, he died in 1996, and the whole process of finding the next heir started again.
And then to get to the present line of dukes, you don't have to go quite so far back, just to the great-grandfather of the 10th Duke, and his brother again, and through the male line to the present Duke.
Your Grace, the Atholl Highlanders are formed up and ready for your inspection, sir.
Bruce Murray runs a small sign-making shop that he set up many years ago in an obscure provincial town in South Africa. In 2012, Bruce and his second wife Charmaine found themselves becoming the Duke and Duchess of Atholl, along with 12 subsidiary titles.
By the centre! Quick! March!
Being the Duke, he is automatically the Colonel-in-Chief of the Atholl Highlanders. It's quite a responsibility.
It's a very, very moving experience for me to parade for them. And I said to Charmaine, the Duchess, the other day that I'm so glad that I'm on my own there, because if I had to turn around and actually have to talk to anybody else, I wouldn't be capable of doing it. I've got a constant lump in my throat when I'm on parade. You know, I'm here because of an accident of birth, and I didn't actually do anything to deserve this huge privilege that I have. All of this that happens is done for me, you know, basically. And it's just a very, very overwhelming sensation that I get to feel that I haven't done anything to deserve it.
The Duke and Duchess only see the family seat on their brief trip over from South Africa once a year.
This is the entrance hall, and it's a collection of firearms and weapons that the Dukes have collected. Just this morning, we were wondering how many of these weapons have actually been used, and it's quite sinister, but it's a wonderful collection.
The trouble with grand estates is that, if not well managed, they can run out of money. In the 1930s, the elderly and childless brothers, the 8th and then 9th Dukes, were facing ruin. But luckily, their distant cousin, the heir to the title, was about to marry a woman with a very rich grandmother.
Her grandmother, old Lady Cowdrey, realised that the estate was in financial problems and the whole thing would probably be sold. So old Lady Cowdrey stepped in, paid off the bank debt, turned the whole thing into a company. She had the controlling shares, the deal was signed, she went to Paris for the weekend for a rest and dropped dead.
My great-grandmother effectively bought the estate, and her condition of buying it was that the Duke and everybody continued to live here, but her advisors ran it. And they took a more business-like approach, and one aspect of that was opening the castle to visitors.
So, by bringing in capital and a commercial approach, the rich old lady had ensured for her granddaughter that there would be a suitable estate along with the title.
The title stays with the male line, but the 10th Duke's half-sister Sarah is the trustee, and she and her mother and her grandmother were the ones with the actual control. So the hereditary system does not mean that the males get the control. They might get the title, but unless you're very bothered about the title, it's running the estate that's more important.
Sarah Troughton, the head trustee, is the half-sister of the 10th Duke. What do you think about the title only going through the male line?
Huge relief. I don't want to be a duchess.
Really?
Yes. I think it's a nice sort of ceremonial thing these days, but it's not something... I prefer to get on with the business side of things.
Had you inherited the title in the past, you'd have lived in the castle. Do you ever think about that?
When I do think about that, the prospect of managing an enterprise like this absolutely appalls me. So actually the way that it is now, I'm probably one of the luckiest dukes because I have this massive enterprise that's there to allow me to be a duke. Well, this is a picture staircase showing a lot of my ancestors. It's lovely. I have this family tree. I can know more or less what they looked like.
Do you know who any of them are?
No. If I look carefully, I might be able to see John, the first Marquis of Atholl, the chap in a very peculiar outfit. And this would be James, the second Duke of Atholl.
Do you see any resemblance between when you look in the mirror?
No, there's obviously a little bit of DNA in there somewhere, but I don't think I look like him.
The Duke's sons, the Marquis of Tullibardine and Lord David Murray, are officers in the Atholl Highlanders.
We are soldiers, though, so in a real army. So, in theory, we could sort of gather the men and go to war if we wanted to. Maybe not in this day and age.
I don't know how effective we'd be.
Do you regret you're not in a position to live here?
It's a very difficult one to answer because obviously I'm African and I always will be. But honestly, no. And I think it's just quite special that we can have the African side as well as the Scottish side. So we have the best of both worlds.
The Duke and his family play a symbolic role in all the rituals. The heir and the spare pull down their socks and get stuck in with the local fun.
Just a bayonet.
No longer a strictly military occasion, the Duchess accompanies her husband. But even at full speed, suitable respect is shown to the Duke. Back home, she's simply Charmaine, but here she's the Duchess and does what duchesses do.
Is it fun handing out the prizes like that?
It is fun, and it's nice to know everybody.
Are you able to enjoy it?
We do. We love it. That's why we come here every year. Yeah, we love it.
I mean, I'm one of 24 people out of 7 billion on the planet who have got this responsibility to be a duke. And it's onerous. You can't be trained for it in my situation. Obviously, if you're born and bred into it, it's different. But nobody can teach you how to be a duke.
This new South African line of long-distance Dukes of Atholl came about because the dukedom can only go through male heirs. But when all male heirs run out, that is the end of the line.